So yesterday we had some pretty big news that got dropped about the live-action God of War TV series that's coming to Amazon Prime. They announced that they've got rid of the whole creative team that was the team from the very beginning of this whole project. They've been there the whole last 2 years, last 2.5 years, and they've got rid of pretty much all of them. Which, for me, my first initial feelings is I'm worried and concerned about what's going to happen now in the future of this show. I did have really high hopes for this. I still do, because there is still some glimmers of hope in here. Now, they have brought on this new showrunner called Ronald D. Moore. I don't know who this guy is, but I've read that he is the guy I think he's the showrunner of Battlestar Galactica. I haven't seen Battlestar Galactica, so I can't really comment on that, but I know that it does have a pretty big fan base. I know a lot of people do love that show, and also I think it is quite successful. So I don't know. I'd have to look more into him, but he is the new showrunner, and if he made Battlestar Galactica what it is, and if people love that, and he did a good job of that, then that does, still keep some hope in here. Also, my main thing that keeps me so hopeful about this show is that they still have Cory Barlog on as the executive producer. Now, Cory Barlog is the creative director, and I think the creative lead of God of War 4. At Santa Monica Studios. He's the person who basically made God of War what it is now. He's the guy behind the vision who created, I think he's the person behind all of their big decisions and how that God of War 4 came to be, because God of War 1, 2, and 3 was totally different types of games. Yeah, they still had Kratos. Yeah, it was still the same world, same lore, but the type of game it was like a top-down game, very different style, where then they moved to God of War 4 and Ragnarok, and it's like third person. Totally different, and I love God of War. For me, it's like my favorite game. God of War and God of War Ragnarok are like my favorite games. They're up there with Halo. I mean, Halo's definitely number one, but they're up there. The point is, I love them. I love them games. I love Kratos. I love the story. I love Atreus, Loki. I love the whole story and the dynamic between these characters. Every character that's been introduced in these games, I really care about all of them. They're amazing characters, so well written. The story, the lore, the world building, everything. God of War is so well done that I'm worried about this show, because I don't know how they're going to be able to pull it off. They're going to need a huge budget for a start to be able to even do this, and they need really talented people behind it to be able to pull this off. So for me, having Cory Barlog still being the executive producer on the show does make me feel still hopeful for this, because if he wasn't there and it was just given to random people, and then now they're getting rid of people and bringing new people in, that would make me really concerned about it, because we've seen how these studios can completely destroy certain IPs. For example, Halo. That Halo TV series was absolute disaster. I'm the biggest Halo fan. I absolutely love it. Then to see what we got was so disappointing. It didn't even feel like Halo. They completely ruined it, and now it's been cancelled after season 2. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. This is Amazon as well. This is why I'm also worried. It's because Amazon have created The Rings of Power, and it's actually rubbish. Season 1 was terrible. Season 2, I definitely think is quite a bit better than Season 1. I did enjoy Season 2 to a certain extent. I should do a review on The Rings of Power, really, because I do have a lot of thoughts, and I won't go into them here. But the point is, they've ruined it, really. They haven't done a good job with The Lord of the Rings. But they have done a really good job with Fallout. Fallout is a really good example of how to translate a computer game into a TV series, and also The Last of Us show. They absolutely nailed it with that, and Fallout. Both of them are really, really good examples of how you actually do this. So I have hopes that these studios and these people that get put behind all this are looking at all the negatives and the positives of how to actually make this work. And I hope that they do the best job, and I hope that they do an amazing job with this and make it actually work. But we're going to have to wait and see. Time will tell. But let's go through this article anyway, and let's read exactly what's going on. Okay, this comes from Deadline, and it says, Ronald D. Moore is back in the Sony Pictures TV Studios fold. The prolific creator showrunner has taken on a high-profile IP for the studio. He has been tapped as writer, executive producer, and showrunner of Sony TV Amazon's Prime video series God of War. So he's actually the writer, executive producer, and the showrunner. Oh no. I mean, that might be a really good thing. But again, what I don't understand is, I don't understand it because I'm not in the film industry. I don't make films, write films. I don't understand how it works. But like for me, what I get confused about is if they have like Cory Barlog, who it literally is the creative director of God of War, the game, and Santa Monica Studios, then I don't understand because they've written the games, they've written the story, they know the characters inside out. They've literally created the game and the world and the story. Everything that happens, they've written and come up with it. So they know it better than anyone. I don't understand why they give it to someone else who's not been part of that game to write the actual show for it, or the TV show. It baffles me a little bit, but I don't know how it works. But in my head, I would imagine if I had created something like that was so precious to me, like let's say Halo or God of War, The Last of Us, or whatever. You've come up with these IPs, these characters, these games that you spent 8 years, 5 years, whatever, working on. If I was to be given an opportunity to have that as put onto a TV show, I would want to write it, or at least have someone that was part of the process of creating the game write it. So I do find that a little bit worrying, but again, it could be a really good thing. Time will only tell, which I don't like either because I want to know now. But anyway, so we'll go further into this. Moore's involvement in God of War follows the recent exit of the project's original creative team. Showrunner, executive producer Rafe Judkins, and executive producers Hawk Osby and Mark Fergus, who had been with the show since its inception 2.5 years ago. As Deadline reported, they had completed multiple scripts prior to the changeover, which marks a shift in the creative direction of the series adaptation. So then that makes me wonder, like, you know, what actually happened? Did they just write so many different scripts and like Santa Monica and Sony were like, nah, this isn't going to work. This is no good. Goodbye. Maybe that's what's happened. And maybe this is going to be so much better. Maybe they've had so many scripts and realized that the creative team were just not the right people for it. I hope that that's the case. And I wish that so many other studios did this. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, they should have literally got rid of everyone behind that, apart from Weta. You know, there is some good people behind the show. Not all of it's terrible, but the showrunners, they should not have been part. They should have just gone. Especially after season 1, I would have been like, no, you're not part of this. Goodbye, sort of thing. But that didn't happen. Again, Halo, there's been loads. But yeah, it seems like maybe these guys are a few steps ahead and like, we can't have you. Goodbye. Let's get someone else on who we know could nail this. So hopefully Ronald D. Moore is the guy. There is another article here. Okay, this is from Eurogamer, and we've read it. I mean, that's basically covers what I've just spoken about. This part here, though, we've mentioned it, but Cory Barlog from God of War Studio, Santa Monica, remains an executive producer on the upcoming TV series, which is like my main focus of hope for this. In addition, PlayStation Productions, Asad Zilbash, fuck knows, who shared news of Moore's involvement in the series with a social media post, remains part of the team, as do Carter Swan, Sony's Herman Hulst, and Vertigo's Roy Lee. Also, Santa Monica's Jeff Ketchum is also an executive producer on Amazon's God of War adaptation. So that's another good thing with that we've got a second person from Santa Monica who is an executive producer. So there is some stuff here that I'm excited about. Also, it does say here that Amazon initially announced its God of War adaptation back in December 2022. At this time, it was said that the show would follow Kratos' dangerous journey with his estranged son to I can't even speak now, to fulfill his wife's final wish to spread her ashes from the highest peak. However, Kratos soon realizes that his journey is an epic quest in disguise, and one which will test the bonds between father and son and force Kratos to battle new gods and monsters for the fate of the world. It is currently unclear how the recent departure of Judkins and co. will affect the planned narrative. So they were literally gonna do the whole game. Like God of War 4, it seemed like they were gonna follow the whole game storyline. That would have been amazing. I really hope that they still do that. That would be so good. I hope that they don't just come up with a totally new thing, like still Kratos, still Atreus, but come up with their own story. I don't think they will do that. I think that they will continue with that. They'll just need to get a better creative team behind it. But imagine if we actually get a really sick, well-made like an amazing show of God of War 4 story and then God of War Ragnarok. Imagine getting a couple of seasons of God of War 4 and Ragnarok story and it was done so well. Like, that would be amazing. That would be so good. I am excited for this, and I really hope that they pull this off. One other thing that I will say about the show that I have no idea how they're going to do this, but they need to cast someone as Kratos. Like, how the hell do you find someone to play Kratos? You need an absolute machine, some absolute monster of a guy who's got the voice or can at least impersonate the voice and also looks like Kratos. Like, I think it's important to get someone who looks like Kratos. I remember when they cast Pedro Pascal as Joel in The Last of Us. At first, it was like, oh, and even Bella Ramsey as Ellie. It didn't feel perfect at first. And yeah, okay, Bella Ramsey doesn't really look like Ellie, but after watching the show, if she feels like Ellie to me, and I really like her. She's an amazing actress. Pedro Pascal really feels like Joel to me anyway when I watch it. But at first, it didn't feel like that. It was only when after I watched it kind of started to feel more like, okay, they feel like Ellie and Joel. So we might have another thing like that where they cast someone who's totally like not on our radar. And we're like, what? You can't cast him as Kratos? I know that they wanted to get Christopher Judge. Well, there was conversations and talks about Christopher Judge, who plays Kratos in the games. He does the voice acting and all the motion capture acting. So he's basically Kratos, but just he's not, from what we know anyway, from how we see Kratos. But obviously, he's so experienced as being Kratos. He would be really good at playing him, of course, because he is him. But he doesn't look anything like Kratos. And for me, I hope that they don't go with Christopher Judge. I want someone who actually looks just like Kratos. I want to feel like I'm really watching it in live action, and I don't want to feel like completely put out by a totally different character. I can't imagine them painting Christopher Judge completely white and then being like, there's Kratos, because it just wouldn't be believable. So I don't know what they're going to do there, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think that will be one big sign. As soon as we get to see who is Kratos, then we'll know where we're going with this. Because if they pick someone who's about 4 foot tall, who weighs 100 pounds, then we know straight away that this is going to be an absolute disaster. So, yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. But some good news, I guess, some exciting news to hold on to. And hopefully, fingers crossed, this is going to be absolutely sick. Just before I finish, I want to just let you know, I have no idea how this video is going to look. I do have a new camera. This isn't the camera I'm wanting to use full time for my wAFFwORLD videos. It is just a new like handheld camera, but I'm just testing it out. I'm testing out the lighting. I've got some new lights, so if my videos start to like vary with different camera angles and different lighting and different quality, then I apologize, but just bear with me until I get it right. So that's it, guys. Drop me a like if you enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments below if you're excited about this news. Is it good news or bad news to you? Are you even looking forward to a TV adaptation of God of War? And also, if any of you know who Ronald D. Moore is and you've seen his shows like Battlestar Galactica or whatever else he's done, let me know down in the comments what you actually think about him being the new showrunner. I genuinely want to know more about him. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all on the next one.